Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the garage. Today is a major channel update, as well as, I'm sure you can tell by the title of the video, a review of this 2023 Ram 3500 Limited Mega Cab Dually. Night Edition. I think that's everything in terms of what this is called. But first off, what is it doing here? Where is my usual truck? Okay, so let's jump right into the channel update. The white truck was a 2021 Ram 2500 Laramie Mega Cab. Absolutely loved that truck. The only issue I ever had with it was that it was, I guess, fairly underrated, with the 10,000 GVWR being an 8,200 pound truck. So it was easy to come up on sort of that load capacity, legally speaking. I saw this guy on a lot in Florida. Didn't physically see it, saw it online, and had an interesting opportunity. It was discounted pretty heavily, over $22,000. So this is a 2023, as I said. Because of that, they were looking to, I guess, clear it out of their lot. They had this one particular dealership had, I think, over 60 dualies from 23. This was the only limited night edition that I could find in the country, I think, on the Ram website, that was new on a lot. So I had an opportunity to get into this. Now, when I was sort of thinking about, well, should I go dually, should I go single rear wheel, which is the main question everybody always asks, I didn't really think about it too much. I absolutely, knew from the get-go that I was going to want to either do a 3500 single rear wheel or a dually. But I've always kind of just enjoyed the way they look growing up. That's probably a opinion in the minority, but hey. So I figured, well, if I'm going to go with the new truck, I might as well just get what I've always kind of enjoyed looking at, because I'm going to look at it. So I went with the dually instead of the 2500. I still do intend on doing some sort of a ride improvement lift on this, because, you know, it's a dually and it's pretty harsh. So, knew that going in. In terms of driving it daily, it's not really any harder than my old truck. You just use your mirrors like you're meant to, and you don't really run into anything. It's not been that tough. The only thing I can think of that is different with this in terms of parking would be like a really cramped lot where the rows are kind of close together, or like a drive-through or something like that. Anyway, with that in mind, let's jump into this review. Okay, as I mentioned, this is the 2023 Ram 3500 Mega Cab Dually. We'll address the Mega Cab Dually in a second, but I absolutely love kind of the overall look and stance. It's large. I gotta zoom out to get you guys get it fully in frame for you guys. Now, I know a lot of people will say, why would you go with a dually and get a Mega Cab? If you get a fifth wheel or something and you're looking to do that 90-degree turn, you're gonna contact the cab. Well, I don't own a fifth wheel. I don't plan to. I do have plans to get a fairly large bumper pull trailer for this car whenever it shows up, which should be soon, for the GT40. Get some sort of like a large race trailer with maybe a sleeping quarters, but that's going to be in 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. But that is eventually going to be there. I don't have a fifth wheel. Don't plan on getting a fifth wheel. And even if I do have a fifth wheel or get one, I would get something like the Super Glide fifth wheel hitch, where it would allow me to back the trailer or turn tightly as needed, and wouldn't be too much of an issue there. So what I'm going to do is walk you through probably front to back on this truck, show you everything, how it looks, and what I like about it, and maybe if there's something I find that I don't like about it, I'll bring that up too. All right, come in here. First thing off the bat, power steps. Before we hop into the engine bay, I will say they are a little slower than the amp steps. They are a wider platform to step on. They come down lower to the ground, and they stick out farther, which makes getting in and out easier. If you're, say, loading something into the seats, it is a little easier to hit your shins on. So take that as you will. The other thing that's nice about these is they extend all the way to this plastic trim piece, so when they fold up, it makes a real continuous sort of look, and you don't really get that gap that you would have had with the amp step. Now, as far as the only flaw or only downside in this entire review that I've got since I've acquired the truck about a month ago, is the paint quality. As you can tell, maybe, I don't know if you can or not, it's a little bit dusty. There's no clear coat on that right there, or if there is, it's very, very thin, sort of looks like overspray almost. It's just the color orange peel, it's not really wet sanded. So the outside, looks decent. I've got PPF on the dually fenders and, well, a whole bunch of other stuff on the front, but not yet on the doors, and you get the swirls and I don't know, something about the clear on the Ram trucks is just very weak, easy to chip. Pop the hood. Anyway, this one's no exception in terms of leaving something to be desired on the quality of the paintwork. Get under here. It's essentially typical Ram paint jobs, but I've got the PPF. You can see this line here on the bumper grill surround. I've got full bumper coverage on the PPF. This time I took PPF on these guys. The last truck did have some chipping here and on the rear fender guards, so I got that in PPF. And then on the A-pillar all the way up to the roof right there. There we go. So there's the PPF that ends on the roof, so that should cover all the spots that I noticed chipping on the last truck, and I might end up just covering the rest of the truck with it as well. Now, starting up front, we still have the 6.7 inline turbo diesel, 6-cylinder inline turbo diesel. The difference with this one, and I'm sure some of you people who know these motors already can tell based on the dipstick location, this is the high output. I figured, why get a dually if it's not high output, if it's got the 68 RFE? So this one had it already. I didn't have to go hunting for it. It's got the 420 horse, 1,075 on a pound-feet of torque. And otherwise, the engine bay is exactly the same for the most part as my last truck. I will note this truck, in terms of fuel economy, pretty different from the old one. This one, again, is the 6.7 high output. The other one was not the high output. It also has the max tow package, which means in addition to the additional power and torque, it has the Aisin transmission and the 410 gear ratio. Coming around now to the rear, take a look at the sort of rear axle. Yeah, this is the 410. You're gonna accelerate faster, you're gonna cruise at a higher RPM on the highway. And then of course, here's the dual. So in addition to being about almost 1,000 pounds heavier than the last truck, you're less aerodynamic, you got more friction on the tires, you got a lower compression ratio in the engine. I believe that is something like 15-1 versus the 19-1 that my old truck was. And coming up here on the side sticker, you'll see payload is 4,867 pounds, which means this truck is 9,133 pounds empty. Now, because it's the Mega Cab, it's only got the 31-gallon fuel tank. I am looking into the Titan fuel tank just because it is less efficient. Instead of 500 miles a tank, this one is looking more close to 380, 400 unladen. So the Titan fuel tank is a 50-gallon tank, which would kick the mileage right up to 700-800 gallons a tank pretty comfortably. Now, you'll notice I've migrated the Banks gauges over, and so far, having purchased the car new, purchased this truck new, I've seen, initially the max torque I saw us getting on the freeway was in the mid 900s. The other day I saw it, engine's breaking in. I'm up to 500 and 600 miles now, something like that. I saw 1,028 on the torque numbers there. But otherwise, just absolutely impressed with sort of the overall drivability of this. It doesn't feel much wider at all compared to the old truck. Now you'll see the dually fenders there in the mirror. Since we're on the topic of mirrors now, looking at them here, I thought I would just review these mirrors since they are the new shape versus the old ones. Now, these mirrors have a couple elements to them that the old ones didn't. They have on the door here these light button options, and then this arrow. This allows you to power adjust the convex portion there. These buttons here control lights on the mirror, external lights. You'll see on the bottom left corner here, and then on the other side, on the front facing side, another light. Now I do not like these. They just, when I'm trying to back up, they don't really, because the light is placed right next to the mirror, I end up looking at the mirror and I see this light kind of blinding me. And then when you get out and you close the door, it blinds you as well. Not the best placement for sort of auxiliary backup lights, but it's a nice idea. I don't think I'm going to be using those. But I do like these mirrors in terms of visibility. They have the same sort of visibility you would get in the old style tow mirrors when they were flipped up. And these also sort of afford you the ability to power extend them, which the old mirrors, those were always manual. Coming back out here, you'll see this has the turn signal, and then these are the 4 LED lights that extend forward. When you get out of the truck, if it's nighttime, these lights stay on for a good 30 seconds after you turn the truck off. And if you're getting out and you close the door, you end up kind of blinding yourself with this light, and then as the door shuts, sometimes blinding yourself with these lights as well. Which is one reason why I haven't really had occasion to use those much. Now, this is the limited trim level, so I did step up from the Laramie to the limited. Again, just had an opportunity, given the discounts that I found online for this. Dealership was really, really great to work with. If you happen to be in the market for one of these, check out Rob Lambden's University Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Florida. They're just sort of right outside Miami. So shout out to them for getting this over to me. They're really great to work with, really responsive. Again, this is the limited model, as you can tell by the wood here and the stitching in the door card. Come over here, check out the console. It's fairly similar again to the Laramie. You've got the same style console, you just have the covers here and in the wood inlay trim. Glove box scoots back. You've got your wireless phone charger here, and then you've got just a shelf to hold the phone, which, you know, the phone now fits in. The old truck, this didn't have enough clearance vertically to fit a phone, at least not my phone. This one does. This one also allows for the charging of a phone, so you can have two phones here, one's charging, one's not. You have the same sort of aux setup you've seen down here, I think since the 2019 model year. This is just empty space, I think, where the CD player used to be, which hasn't come in the truck since 2020, I believe. Now, this little space is kind of hilarious because it's too small for anything useful. I don't know what they're going to put there. Anyway, new for 2023, I think. Maybe 22 in the lighter duty trucks, but I think this is new for 23 in the heavy duties. Now, let me know in the comments below if it came in earlier model years on the heavy duty trucks, and that is this reverse trailer steering. I have not had a chance to use it. I've seen it demonstrated on TFL where they had trouble achieving sort of a much higher sort of jackknifing turn, say a 90-degree plus turn in reverse, and I think that might have been down to how they calibrated it. To use trailer steering, you first have to hook up and then just drive around with the trailer. You have to drive and then make a 90-degree turn, then drive another 100 yards and another 90-degree turn. Now, I think it sort of sets the maximum amount that it will sort of steer the trailer based on your 90-degree turns. And if you're just going to do a 90-degree turn in an intersection, the radius of that turn is not as tight as you would want, say, if you were reversing into a parking lot and you really needed to jackknife it. And I think when they were sort of calibrating their trailer, they were just driving 90-degree turns in, say, a four-way intersection. I think if you were to find a parking lot, go a little slower and really crank on the steering wheel, get your 90-degree turn radius as tight as possible, it might jackknife it a little bit further. Not sure. That's totally hypothesis at this point. If anyone else knows, let me know in the comments. Prior years, this was also here. This is trailer brake controller. Nothing new about that. Here we have alternate trailer height, because this is the air assist model tow haul mode for the Cummins engine, which is absolutely fantastic paired with the exhaust brake. This thing is incredible with the Aisin. Even empty, this thing will really slow you down on a hill. Again, traction control, park sense, nothing new there. This lane assist up here is really, really helpful if you're new to a dually. Not only will this little light flash on the all digital gauge cluster here when you do deviate from the lane, your steering wheel actually sort of gently nudges you back into the lane. So if you're, say, drifting to the right, it will cock you back into the middle of the lane, and then it gives you a chance to recenter yourself. So if you're new to the dually and you're not quite sure where you are, this is quite helpful. One thing you do see missing in this configuration that I did have in my old truck were the aux switches. Now, depending on the lift I go with, which I am still, researching, doing the diligence on, I love the Carli lift. I have right now entertaining the possibility of a different lift from a different company that I'll only go into if I end up going that route, which may require some additional control. So right now, up here is one spot that I am entertaining putting aux switches. It would replace this factory sunglass holder with a aux switch sort of mount for a Switch Pro. So it's either going to go here, or the Switch Pro controls will go in this panel down here, SDHQ. They make a Switch Pro that sort of sets into their own sort of panel here. I think they just purchased one of these panels from Mopar and then cut it such that the control panel will fit nicely in there. I've seen both of those, either this look or this look, turn out very clean in my opinion. So one of those two will be in the future. Anyway, the rest of the front of the interior here is fairly similar to the old truck. You'll see the sun visor. This I pulled out from my old truck and put in the new one. The only thing that's different is this guy here a little bit, sticks over slightly farther, but this sun visor fits very, very well here. It just kind of kisses out a little bit, but it's not an issue. The glove box here, exception between, I guess the difference between this truck and the other one is that it says limited instead of Laramie. It's made out of wood, but once you get the glove box open, it's exactly the same inside. This glove box, exactly the same. One area I do want to highlight as being, sort of starkly different between the 23 model year and the 21 model year is the door leather. The leather sort of right here on this elbow rest, on the door here, and right here. It feels softer and, sort of like necessarily thinner, as though it needed to be thinner in order to feel softer. This almost feels like something that's in my wife's Lexus, just a little bit easier to rip and tear over the years. Time will tell how this wears. It is certainly softer, but I do think it's, probably prone to damage a little bit more than the old one. Again, that same sort of feeling in this center of the console here. These edges seem to have much fuller grain leather. You can kind of see that in the actual pattern on the skin. This stuff though feels like a much sort of thinner, more soft, supple leather. Again, time will tell how that wears. The steering wheel is also made out of that softer leather, so it's great to grip. It feels very, very comfortable, but not really quite sure, not certain how it will wear compared to the old leather. One area where the leather has improved in terms of, say, thickness and robustness is the seats. These guys feel like an even thicker, fuller grain leather than the old ones. Gone are the suede because this is the limited trim, but this is a very, very thick, robust, natural grain leather. I don't know if you can see it. This is the back of the driver's seat here. This leather, the sort of hide patterning is very, very close together. This one is very far apart, so you can kind of tell that it just varies depending on the cow that they had used for the leather. Back seat, that is the sort of car seat cover on the seat, so underneath that is another seat that looks like that. I'll hop out here in a second and show you the room in the back. All right, into the back seat now. I've got the Back windows tinted. There are, I think this is a 20 on top of the factory, roughly 24, 25. So it's about a 5% once you've stacked the aftermarket tint on top of the factory glass. This tint, by the way, was done by a company called Mr. Tint. So if you're in San Jose, definitely highly recommend them. Check them out. Terry is really great, really knows his stuff, and excellent to deal with, work with, all that. So if you're interested in getting your car or truck tinted, head over there. They'll take care of you. Again, we've got the limited interior stitching here. In terms of window controls, it's the exact same as the 21 model year. This sort of elbow rest, again, is this sort of, I don't know if it's thinner, but it just feels softer leather. In terms of leg room, you have more than you could ever need. I'm just a touch shy of 6 feet. I got long legs for my height, and I've got probably 8 inches between my knee and the front of my seat. I do tend to sit farther forward in terms of where I like to drive, but even so, there's just so much space. And once you are in here, you do have the option of reclining the seat with a lever down here. I'll hop over and show you. With the seat reclined, you have quite a bit of angle there just to really kind of relax and rest. These two also recline. They are combined in the middle here, so both of these, the middle and that one, recline together. This middle seat is a lot wider than what you'd find in your normal standard vehicle. The reason for that is because of the sort of mega cab configuration. You don't have these B-pillars wrapping around right here, and then the seats being stuck here and being forced to be a little bit narrower. In the crew cab model, the B-pillars are shorter. Sorry, the C-pillars are shorter, they're closer, they're not so deep. Because of that, these seats have to be, they don't recline, but they also have to be narrower to allow for that sort of C-pillar to curve around. This one, it curves around behind the seat, allows these to be quite a bit wider, and it's a much more comfortable middle seat for 5 people. Like I mentioned, this was a truck that I picked up from Florida. It's the, I think, Rob Lambden University Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. If you're interested in their, trucks, this is certainly a dealership that seemed to have much more stock anywhere else in the country. Go ahead and drop the tailgate there, and it is dropping. Okay, that was cool. Sometimes it doesn't on this incline. This truck did come with the 5th wheel hitch. The Mopar 5th wheel hitch is a 30,000 pound hitch, so this truck is, again, rated to tow 30,000 pounds. And this bed cover, I don't really care for this bed cover for a couple of reasons, but it came with it, so I'm not in a huge rush to get a new one on here. I'm, happy enough that this bed cover is doing a quite good job of just keeping the UV rays out of here and keeping this from fading and all that, but I will be getting a different one in the future. It's not going to be a roll-up bed cover. If I had an 8-foot bed, roll-up would be fine. I've found myself needing more and more space as I've gotten older for either projects or family things, and the roll-up was just taking up too much space in that canister that mounts up in the front there. So I think I'm going to be going back to a flip style bed cover. Out of all the covers I've had, I've enjoyed that the most. So coming in here to the bed itself, we have this switch. Turns on that light and that light, which will be very handy at night if you're especially trying to empty something out and you're not sure where you put it and there's no lights around. So we've got this tie down. There's 4 of them, 1 in each corner, and then we've got the 4 and 7 pin wiring wire harnesses for your 5th wheel in here, and then of course the 400 watt cargo outlet. Now I know Ford has something like the Pro Power on board, I think is what it's called. Nobody crucify me if I've mixed that up. Where it's like a full 1200, I think 1200 watt outlet in the back, which is really quite nice, and I think something Ram either will be doing or should be doing in the not too distant future if they want to keep pace with Ford. The tie down hooks on the bed, I'll zoom in there for you. There we go. That's, I'd say, a pretty typical tie-down hook. One thing I found to be a little strange is this tie-down hook, and the one on the other side, they kind of have it facing that direction. I don't know why they didn't just put it here where they typically go. I kind of like that sort of orientation a little bit more. But nevertheless, this works just fine. Bringing this back up, it's a light tailgate, again, sort of the same as the 21 model was. You got limited, you got the blacked out badging, the 12 and 7 pin harness here, class 5 hitch, and the chains for the tie down chains there, not tie down, safety chains there. Looking at the tires, come around here, look at the tires. These are the 235 80R17 Nexen tires from the factory. Nothing too tremendous there. These wheels though are the 9 edition wheels that come stock. I may be keeping these, not sure, depending on which route I go with the lift, but that's TBD for the moment. I've got PPF on this guy and the dually fenders. The full PPF on the dually fenders, I think for me was something I really wanted to do, knowing the quality of the paint. This would probably have 100 rock chips in it by now if I didn't. I ended up getting the truck, drove it for 2 days, took it to PPF, and glad I did that, even though it was hard not seeing it after finally getting it, waiting for it, getting shipped across the country. It was important to me that this got taken care of sort of right away. Again, passenger seat, similar to the 2021 Ram that I had, the main difference being this is not suede because it's the limited trim. I've got these sort of limited floor mats on top of the all-weather rubber ones, just because I kind of like seeing this for now. I might pull these out, once winter comes back around and I don't want to get the carpet all sort of destroyed needlessly. Anyway, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take it for a drive. Okay, let's go check this out on the road for a little bit. Major difference here on the Uconnect is that it's the Uconnect 5 versus the 4. We get wireless CarPlay and a little bit of a different sort of layout, but yeah, that's CarPlay, what it looks like. Gauge cluster is a little bit different. We've got a favorites menu. We've got a sort of scroll menu. So scrolling starting from the off-road pages. You have a navigation, which is the same as what you would get on the Uconnect. I tend to like the Uconnect. You've got your trip meter, and then you got your vehicle info screen. So vehicle info, starting on the far left, you get fuel economy, coolant, trans, and battery voltage. And then you got oil life, oil temp, and then oil pressure, tire pressure. This is sort of the exhaust info. You got exhaust brake, boost pressure, and then DPF filter. This ECU, I will say, gives you a little bit more of a real-time feed of how close you are to either 100% blockage or the next regen. So let's go ahead and get moving. Coming around now, I will say this ride is a lot harsher than the 2500 that I'm coming from with the Carli suspension setup, as you would expect. It is, I'd say, a fair bit harsher than the stock 2500, as you would also expect. Surprisingly, this ride is not as harsh as the 3500 crew cab with the 8-foot bed, and I think that's down to the fact that it's got the extra couple 100 pounds from the mega cab itself sitting a little bit farther back towards those rear leaf springs, just kind of working to smooth out the ride just a little bit. I say smooth, but that's really the wrong word. There's nothing really that smooth about it. I'd say driving around these roads here empty every day, it's doable. You hit a large pothole, you do definitely get that sense of like a ugh, but it's not jarring. It's not like driving an empty 5500 or something terrible. What I'm going to do is throw on the exhaust brake and tow haul mode, take us up the hill in the neighborhood, and then just kind of take a look at what torque looks like. I will say, so far, the biggest number I've seen is 1,028. Likely, probably not going to hit much more than 600 or 700 on this little hill, because it is still in the neighborhood. But let's just see how this goes here. Build a little boost and hit it. Oh, 840. Okay. So that did, I'd say I did it earlier, and I didn't get over 600, but I was not in tow haul. So I think that had a decent effect. Doesn't have to shift as early. So I definitely felt it coming up here. And again, this truck has the 410 on the gear ratio as opposed to the 373 on the other truck. Much faster accelerating, especially at lower speeds. It really helps fight off that turbo lag. Now coming down here, I've got exhaust brake on, and I am not braking at all. It's holding me steady at 20. I am in third gear according to the Banks gauge, and now I'm just slowing down. I think this is about a 6-7 degree hill here, and it's slowing me down. I'm hovering over the gas actually. So one thing I will say is the exhaust brake in this Ram, I guess the exhaust brake in all Rams, from what I've seen on TFL and a lot of other guys, is that they're more, I guess, effective than what I've seen other people who have Fords or GMCs. I have no experience in either of those vehicles, so I'm not going to say yeah it's better, but from what I've heard and seen and read, that's what people have been saying. And what I can say and what I have firsthand experience with is the exhaust brake with the Aisin trans is a lot more robust than it is in the 68 RFB. This one definitely feels, and maybe it's not necessarily the exhaust brake, but just the transmission working in tandem with it. It definitely feels much more robust and heavier duty than, say, something like the 68 RFB compared to the same exhaust brake. Now, as far as driving daily with the dually, I haven't had much issue, if at all, with these dual tires. In terms of width, the only areas on the road that I've experienced where it's a little bit different daily is coming up to a left turn, and I'm in the far left turn lane at an intersection, and there's maybe another left turn lane to the right, and I'm trying to squeeze through between the median and the row of cars to the right. I go a little bit slower. I'm just not quite used to it yet. And then also making that turn, making sure the back left outer dual tire doesn't clip the median as it comes around. On that turn. But it hasn't, like I said, it hasn't been an issue. I haven't gone, oh crap, I've taken that wrong. As far as daily driving goes, it's really been not too different. As far as the roads out here go, I mean, if you can drive a 3-axle 10-wheeler most places, you can certainly drive these just as easily most everywhere else. Now this acceleration here is, like I said, better than the old truck. I'd say due to the gearing and the trans more so than the power. I mean, 850 pound-feet of torque on the old truck is more than sufficient to go wherever you need to go whenever you need to get there. The 1075 on this one is certainly substantial, and more so than the last one, but it's not going to be like the old truck was missing in terms of power, underperforming in terms of power. It's just the way this is set up, it feels a little bit more like a kick in the back when you hit the gas. This truck did come with a sunroof. I do like it. I mean, it has the controls here for the tilt, and then also the full open, as you would expect. Open, here we go. And it's also got the rear sliding window. I'm going to go ahead and keep this closed just for the lighting in the video. And then as far as the mirror goes, it also has this flip-up mirror, which during the day I've found to be kind of like a cool thing, but totally not needed. But at night it is incredibly helpful. I've got the back glass tinted, and if you're in an area without any lights, it can be really difficult to see out the back glass. And the only thing that you can see is about 10 feet off the ground. So having this mirror here at night, it is illuminated. It does auto dim, but it is really, really helpful. Now, we're out here on the road with some actual lanes. I'm going to try and see if I can't drift out of this lane and watch it correct. There it goes. So I'm going to try that one more time. Go ahead and just kind of drift out of the lane and keep your eye on the steering wheel there. And it's putting us right back in the lane. So that's something that I found to be quite interesting and a little bit of fun for somebody who's daily driving a dually and it's coming from a bit of a narrower truck. So it's almost amusing to watch it just steer itself. It feels a little strange, a little foreign, but for the most part, you know, I haven't really needed it, but it is nice to just know that it's there. But you know, on this road, it's fairly smooth. You don't really get the sense that I'm being, you know, rocked around. I'm not, you know, chattering. My voice isn't chattering away as I'm being, you know, rolled over bumps here or anything like that. All right, coming back into the neighborhood now. Yeah, again, it's not really that rough. It is certainly rougher, and it's not something I'd want to drive around in empty forever, which is part of the reason why I do plan on doing either one of two different lifts, depending on, you know, which way I end up going with that. But right now, it's not as bad as, I'll say, the Crew Cab 3500 that I've driven before and reviewed on the channel. You'll see down here I've got about 109 miles of range left on a little over a quarter tank, so realistically it's about 380, 400 miles of tank before I need to go fill up. Down the road, nothing I need to do right now, but I have been looking at the Titan sort of aftermarket 50-gallon fuel tank, which, you know, 14 miles a gallon is about 700 miles a tank, which would be a lot more, I'll say, appropriate if you're going to be towing a fifth wheel somewhere, or even just like a heavy bumper pull, and you don't want to get, you know, you want to have to stop every couple hundred miles, 200 miles, feel like you're in an electric car, to get gas with a trailer. So I'll go ahead and head back up that same hill. I'll leave it in, you know, I'll take the tow haul off, I'll take the exhaust brake off and see if we get similar to 800 pound-feet again. Oh, yeah, okay, I stand corrected. Before we head up this, last time we went up this hill with the tow haul mode on, we hit 828. This time I saw 913, so didn't seem to make too much of a difference. I guess we hit that torque right on early in the rev range, didn't have to rev that high, so really is quite entertaining heading up those hills, experiencing the sort of high output force, you know, torque with the 410 gear ratio. All right, heading back in. Go ahead and park this beast and wrap things up. And that will pretty much do it. That's just about everything I can think of that's either different or new or fun for this truck. This is, again, the 23 Ram 3500 Mega Cab Dually Night Edition with the high output, with the, you know, the max tow package, with the 410 gears. So if you found this review helpful, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.